All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:31, and we'll start with the board norms, which are to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. And do we have any changes to the agenda? All right, seeing none, moving on to old business. So what we have before us, I'll read it out loud on my screen, hopefully, is to vote on temporary changes to operations at the Jamaica Village School for the 2024-2025 school year due to staffing issues, including the possibility of temporary closure of the school or retaining pre-K programming at Jamaica Village School and moving the K-5 students to other district elementary schools. So that is the business that we have before us. Bob, do you have any updates since the last couple days?
Yeah, so on the hiring and posting front, I can tell you that we received one application for the admin assistant position, and that's it. There's no applicants for either of the two professional educator positions at this time. The other thing I will update you on is that I did make calls to all the families. I didn't get through to every single person. There was some messages left, but to all the families who had enrolled pre-K students at JVS for this coming year, just to find out, because the board had talked about the potential of would pre-K stay in the building or not if this other move does in fact happen. And so I wanted to find out their perspective on that so I could report that to you guys as well. And I would say that there were most people, almost all of them were like, yeah, I would love to have it stay there and I would still send my kid there. And the fact that the other grades may not be there would not impact their decision. The fact that one of their siblings may be in a different place did not necessarily impact their decision. There were some that were like, I could go either way, but everyone in general was like, yeah, I'd probably still send my kids there. So I wanted to give you guys that information as you thought about your decision. And then, now that we have an admin assistant applicant as well, which seems like a strong one, that person could also be brought into the fold to be another person in the building to help support the pre-K room if you chose to go that route. So I have an email out to the state to find out about the requirements for a director to see like who, if it wasn't the teacher, then who could it be? What would they have to do to become a director? And I haven't heard back yet on that too. So we'll continue to follow that if that's the route you guys choose to go today.
Okay.
That is pretty much what I have for updates.
And you said you directly contacted 7?
The pre-K, so there's 9, well, there were 8 pre-K registrations. One was a homeschool that would join for specials. I didn't contact that person, but I did the other 8. A couple of them I left messages for that I didn't hear back from. One I had some issue with phone numbers. But for the ones that we talked to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of the 8 that I was able to confirm conversations with, they all felt that they would keep their kids there if the option was available. Okay. Just wanted you guys to know that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Banner?
So if we choose not to use the Jamaica School as a pre-K, there's room in Townsend? Or does it make it constraining?
Well, so here's the wrinkle. You may remember one of the reason that we talked about moving the pre-K, one of the 2 pre-K rooms to Jamaica, had to do with the space configuration at Townsend and having a really small room that wasn't really suitable for a full grade. So what we talked about a few months back was that if something happened, we would instead think about moving the second pre-K room, if it wasn't at Jamaica, to potentially move it to Newbrook. And Scotty started the process there of applying just to have a backup plan if that needed to happen. I think it was mentioned, I think, in one of the meetings that there is a cost to that, and there would be some things we have to do. But the Townsend room itself could not absorb all 8 of these. I think they could maybe take 3 more kids. I think it's at 17 is what I heard. So they could take a couple more, 3 more, but they would not be able to take all of these kids. So if we did a second room at Newbrook, there's a cost to that. There's other challenges to that. Some people will get displaced. We have to figure out their spaces, but so yeah, that's a possibility, but maybe isn't ideal, I guess, putting on the numbers. So
And we're already geared up for the second room somewhere with staff.
yeah, we're staffed for 2 rooms regardless. Yep.
So it kind of makes sense to put it there.
Put it right there. Sorry.
Put pre-K, to leave pre-K in Jamaica, since we have a space issue. It makes sense. We've got a class. We're
Okay.
staffed. It's not an issue there. So it kind of seems like that's our solution, or at least the best solution for those kids.
Okay. True.
I was going to ask the staff question, but I'll follow that with where are we at with the licensing in Jamaica? Are we confident that we're going to be able to do that?
I do not see any reason why not. And when Elaine Crawford came to visit me, she gave me the impression that there would be no reason not to, especially since there was one there before. The space met all the requirements, our playground met all the requirements. However, the director or whoever's going to be there will need to go through the fingerprinting process. And I started my fingerprint process probably about 2 months ago, and they still don't have the results yet. So nothing can happen until that person is fingerprinted. And I'm still waiting for mine, and I had to make a couple of edits to some programming handbooks. So I'm waiting to find out the results of that as well, but otherwise everything is good to go.
And the final is they do a final visit when the room is set up and ready to go, and
Yes.
that's when they push the button, if you will, to do final approval. So we'd have to wait for the room to be set up and for that to have happen anyways. But they assure us that the track is there.
Right, but it's that fingerprint issue that's what's scaring me.
Is there anything that the board or the superintendent can do to speed the plow on fingerprinting? Like,
So the
is there anything we
fingerprinting
can
is
do to?
It's a problem
That
with the
would be crazy if it
licensing
held us
side
up.
of things. Yeah, so I actually had to deal with this last year where fingerprinting wasn't coming through, actually, ironically, on the Wyndham hires. And it just took too long. And so we reached out to the AOE to say, can you call the VCIC and tell them to hit the gas on these? Because it was, really taking their sweet time. And they were like, yeah, no, they're an independent organization. We can't really do that. We had to kind of wait. They eventually do come through. It takes a long time. And I think the fall is busier. The summer and fall are busier when there's a lot of new teachers coming into the system because they do it for all educators. Monica has already been fingerprinted to be a teacher, but she had to do a second set of fingerprinting to do this. I had been fingerprinted to be a principal. I had to get a second set of fingerprinting to be superintendent. So some of the rules are a little kooky, but it does lead to this process happening. It will. My sense is that if you have the right person, they will pass the fingerprinting. It just takes time, and I don't know what happens if it's not in time for opening of school. I think we would have to work that out with the state to say it's not our fault. We did it months in advance and so on and so forth. But
Let's be ready to put on. If we get to that, it just seems crazy that would get in the way of
yeah.
all this stuff. Can I just ask a quick
And so
question
just
on-
to answer, to get back to what we did in Wyndham when that was the problem is that we had central office administrators there every day, so that we had someone on site who had been fingerprinted and approved to act as the person in charge until one of the 2 people there had fingerprinting had come through.
So for the licensing, can we do that too? Not to push you hard, but it seems like
Yeah.
I
I
know
think
we
if-
get stuck on some more
If
technicalities.
you choose to do the pre-K there and the fingerprinting of the person that's going to be director is not returned in time, we would do the same thing. The SU would provide a body to be at the building until the fingerprinting came through for a person, just for the protection of everybody.
Can I ask another quick question about
Sure.
staffing, which is there other staffing that we would need at Jamaica if there was a standalone pre-K? Are we covered on kind of the comprehensive staffing?
Right, so
questions?
the staff that we'd be sending regardless, before any of this became conversation piece, was the teacher and a para. Regardless of the size, we would have those 2 people because, maybe you're not required to have 2, but it's better to have 2, second set of eyes. So if you add an admin assistant into that mix as well, now you have 3 bodies in the building to help support. And that's what I would recommend if that's the path you guys choose to go.
Custodian. We need a
Right, you
custodian.
need custodial services.
And the food service.
Right. I talked with Greg a little bit about the food service issue today, and his thing was that you'd have to deliver food in the little boxes, which isn't going to be, as ideal as having them prepped in the kitchen there themselves, but it'd be hard to fill that job as well. But you would have someone run it from here to there on a daily basis to drop off.
And is there like do we have a sense of what the cost would be for the food service and the custodial and?
Well, these are costs that are already enrolled into what we're doing now at the school. Like, it wouldn't
Yeah.
cost more to do
Okay.
that. So the costs are coming off. Having a pre-K there, and that's all you're having there. The only costs you're saving, in essence, are the two staff, professional staff, teacher positions, and the teacher principal. Those two positions would not be there, so that money would not be spent. But the other expenses would all be the same. Some of the part-time specialist teachers that pop in would just get repurposed to the places where the kids went. So if the variety of kids ended up at Townsend, for example, we would send some of those folks to Townsend to help support that.
Can I ask one more question? I'm just curious, I feel like I should actually know this and I don't. The pre-K students in the Townsend rooms that we've currently been running, do those students ever get access to any of the specials that are happening in terms of like art, music, library, PE, etc.?
sure.
Do they get any of
I
those
don't think so.
things? No, okay. So
In
the
the
fact
past,
that those
yes.
won't be at Jamaica, they wouldn't be,
Yeah, they're not missing
Missing
out on
out.
anything that the
Okay.
Townsend students would have. That's why I was talking to Greg about the food service, because I said we can't have one building, if we had it, that wasn't providing food when the other one, pre-K kids had access to food. So, those are the kinds of things we want to ensure we're as equitable as possible.
I think for a while there, we had food service on the go at Jamaica. There was a time.
Yeah, I think there's been different models.
Different models, they've tried it, it's showed up in entrees and stuff like that. It's not ideal, but it's still food.
It's been done.
Yeah, it's being supplied.
and
Any
just
other-
one more
sorry.
question, just for argument's sake. What would the costs involved be if the pre-K program were to move to space at Newbrook? What would the costs immediately be for that? And just so that we have that all out there. in the same-
Yeah, I see
same time, same
Scotty.
place.
Scotty's on the call, so I'm gonna, and he may not know the answer to this directly, all the numbers, but he can give us some ballpark, I think, of what the research that he's done and the conversations with Greg that he's had about that.
Just real quick, the staff who are currently working in pre-Ks are both fingerprinted and ready to go. Whether or not the lead teacher could be the director or not is the thing that Bob is trying to find out now, and that I believe that would be a possibility, but again, I'm not the decision maker. As far as Newbrook goes, in order to make use of Newbrook, there's only one room that meets the qualifications of having a rear egress, and that is our 5th grade classroom, Miss Van Pamelen's classroom. So we would need to move Miss Van Pamelen into the room that we are currently renting back to the WCSU for some of their special education offices, SLPs, OTs, PTs. There are about 7 people, I think, that share that room. And we would need to find a new place for them. So not only would we have to move them, but we would also have to rent something or put them somewhere. And my guess is, and I can't speak for them or for the special ed department, but many of them live in Brattleboro. So like putting their office in Jamaica, let's say, I don't think would really work for a lot of them personally. So we would need to find a place for them. We would need to move Miss Van Pamelen to a new classroom and outfit that classroom. It doesn't have a bathroom, and that's why it can't be a pre-K. But we would need to make that room suitable for a classroom of 5th graders, and then we would have to start working on the classroom that we'd be moving into, which after we would be moving the pre-K into, which would include, I've met with Greg quite extensively. Greg's already ready for flooring and for painting if we needed to, because we were ready for this move. Like, we didn't know what you folks were going to do. So Greg's been very smart about getting onto some dockets of some construction people. But so we'd have to repaint, we'd have to do all the windows because there's lead in the window panes, and we'd have to redo the bathroom, and we'd have to rebuild the sink setup in that classroom. Also another cost is that a pre-K classroom is a loud classroom, and this classroom is literally in the dead center of my building. So that's just another like kind of hidden cost. I would love to have a pre-K in the vicinity, just because, you get a little bit more control. Miss Bostrom is an incredibly like proactive thinker, and she would be working with the pre-K teachers, I'm sure. But we could, we were planning on that kind of thing happening with the Townsend teachers anyway. So, again, I think we'd be doing a lot of construction. We'd have to put in. They want us to put in like a merry-go-round, I believe. Greg's on this call too. I think they wanted a merry-go-round for littles because we only have one feature on our playground that can be used by littles, by pre-K age children. And Greg, is there anything else I'm missing? I don't know if Greg's there.
Yeah, sorry, it just got all crazy on me. No, I mean the only issue is we had planned on painting the room and doing the floor anyways because we had to do that to get on there. The windows will probably just end up scraping and having somebody come in and just seal them up so that the lead is not exposed, which we need to do that anyways. And so a lot of those things were capital expenses that were going to happen anyways. But yeah, we're in pretty good shape. The only thing we would have left to do to open one there, if we so chose to, would be to just do a lead inspection, and then we have to stabilize the paint on the windows that we know is flaking. But for the most part, Scotty nailed it, and we're ready to go on that. We're ready to go if we do one in Jamaica. We're ready to do whatever we've got to do to make education work best for the kids of West River.
I would say too that I don't know how she did it. Monica is an amazing person, but Monica got licensed while she was teaching and principaling. I've been working for the last month and a half, and I'm not lying. It's been probably 40 hours of work, and I'm still not done. And there are things that would need to be done on my end this summer when I'm not contracted to be there. And I guess that's probably a cost as well.
Come on, Scotty.
Does that answer your question?
Sure.
What about the play? I had always heard that preschool playgrounds have to be fenced in. Would that need to happen, or is it considered
At Newbrook you're talking about?
Space? Yeah.
Well, actually, do you want to talk a little bit about that at your school? Because
Right, ours is not fenced in, but it's enough separation from all of there's no dangerous areas around it. So if there's nothing around it that may be a danger, it's like water or roads or such, then it's okay. So the location of ours is just
Okay.
and I believe Scotty's the same. Is that right, Scotty?
Yeah, Elaine came out for the initial walkthrough and Greg was kind enough to be there. We've been very as efficient as we can. I don't know how Monica did it, honestly, but yes, they did say that we are suited because it's in the back of the building. We are suited for a pre-K. So, and this is a decision you guys are making now, but I'm going to go ahead and go through this process because I'm assuming that eventually there might be a pre-K there, even if you don't choose to do it this year. But it'll take the pressure off a little bit because even at the state, they're like, wait, you want it for this fall? Because we started in May. So
Just want to kind of restate what Scotty and Greg said, and just to make sure I'm clear on it too. There are any monies that would need to be spent are already built into CapEx. I think that's kind of what Lindsay might have been getting at. Was are there any additional expenses? It sounds like no, and that it's all built in already into.
Greg, is that your sense, Greg, that any cost to get Newbrook ready is something already being considered under capital, or are there additional costs that would be incurred?
Minimal. If there are, they would be minimal. The cabinets were due to be replaced anyways in those classrooms, so they would need to be done. The windows, and the only thing that we might do was if we try to replace the windows, is what it would do is would expedite something that I believe is on the capital plan for Newbrook for next year anyways, was to start replacing some windows. So it might just expedite that a year, but it wasn't going to be something that wasn't coming in the near future anyways. So I don't think that it would be a huge that there would be any like really large cost. They did talk about trying to add another structure at some point. There is a gap between where the current pre-K structure is and the next structure over, where you probably could put a little something, as Scotty said. But I felt like Elaine thought it was a pretty good location, in her visit. Like, I'm sure she felt the same way at Jamaica when she met with Monica. So, they're both great spots. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
could I add, Al?
Sure.
the only thing that I can think of that will, we will need to outfit this classroom and make it nice, to keep our customers, and to make it safe. But I'm sure that Greg has a plan for that. The only real expense is going to be to relocate those. I think it's 7 staff, and they will need to have office space. And I don't know what that costs in the current market, or even if Stephanie has looked at it or Bob has looked at it. But that's the thing that I've been concerned with, is that we don't have a plan for that, I don't think, and that is an expensive proposition.
And simultaneously, the loss in revenue. Well, you're gaining revenue from the rental from the SU. You would lose as well. It's not a lot, but
Unless we were able to house 7 here at Leland and Gray.
you gain it in another place, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Can I ask
go
one
ahead.
more
Sorry.
question, kind of a hypothetical one, but if we were to go ahead with the pre-K in Jamaica, is there a possibility to, publicize or pull in kids from beyond the far side of our district? Is there any way that
Right.
we
So
could both have bodies in their tuition?
yeah, so I think we have taken students from out of the district. I think Wyndham is one notable example where they every family gets a 10-hour voucher, if you will, for 10 hours of weekly pre-K, and then we would charge them. We figure out a tuition rate for pre-K, subtract the 10-hour percentage, and then charge them a tuition rate for that. Not many people have taken us up on it, but we have done that in the past. Marlboro played around with free pre-K for anyone who wanted it. They are now trying to potentially shift away from that. So I don't know enough about that to speak to why, but I know they're moving away from that and going back to a tuition model. So you could bring in people and charge tuition. So yeah, that's a distinct possibility.
And I happen to know that the tuition was worked up by Heidi, because that was one of the questions that came up. And she came up with a calculation of $8,000 from each family, based on $11,884, and then take away the 10 hours. So that would be about $8,000 for each family.
And we would set up payment plans, monthly payment plans with families if they want to do that. We've done that before.
Would that be something the board would have to set up?
We already do it.
So we already have a pre-K.
Yeah, we already have a calculation they've been doing for years here. Like I said, the Wyndham folks have been taking advantage of that at Townsend for a few years now. So I don't think the board would have to do anything. It's been happening. That's all I'm gonna say.
Actually, we just don't have that conversation. We've set our tuition rates over the last few years. We have not set a pre-K tuition rate. Has never
Right.
been part of that conversation. So
Yeah, I think how you did this with Lori's, I think the way they said it was based on our elementary rate, and then it's discounted somehow. It has to do with the ADM counts for pre-K is less than a kindergarten kid, and so they made some adjustments to come up with the 11,000 something. So yeah, they did it. They did a calculation. The board has never set that. You're right, but if the board wants to set that, you could do that moving forward.
Al, do you want me to speak to that?
Oh, sure.
Heidi,
Go ahead,
there she
Heidi.
is.
Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say the calculation that Lori and I have done for years based on, because we had kids coming in from other towns when we have it at Townsend, we take the cost of the pre-K, we take that portion of the cost of the building to calculate what it is for a pre-K student to attend the school. Excuse me. So Drew, that's how we come up with the amount, is based on what our actual expenditures are in the school. That's how we set it. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, good to know now. And sure, maybe we could weigh in the future if need be.
Can I get one more piece of clarification?
Of course.
I'm wondering, I feel like we may have talked about this before, but pre-K transportation, and we talk about how that's going to potentially work at Jamaica without other kids going there. Does that affect that? What's happening with transportation? Is that an issue?
To be honest, I'm a little hazy on what happens with pre-K transportation. I know Greg, if he's still on the call, might be able to help us with that. I know that there was some rules about it.
I see Lindsay on there. I don't know if she's able to.
Well, I think, Greg, do you know what we do? And then what the rules
We
are?
offer it currently. I think there are a couple of families that currently access it. There's a waiver they need to sign in order to do it. It would be very hard to pull off up there to offer it simply because there would be no buses at that time in that area. If that school doesn't operate, we're going to save a bus route, and those kids are all going to come down in the morning to Townsend, right? If they came for the ones that came to Townsend, they would come to Townsend, and the Townsend kids come early and much earlier. Like right now, the Jamaica high school kids and some Jamaica kids get picked up in Townsend or in Jamaica. They come down, and then the bus goes back up and does a Jamaica elementary route. But they would all come at once if Jamaica was non-operating. So I don't know how we would possibly be able to offer that transportation for pre-K kids, because I would assume that we would try to save the money on the bus route, but I suppose we could try to send it up there if there was enough to do it, and if the board so chose to.
I was just curious about the equity question and whether or not, it sounds like it's done as, if you can get on a bus, you can sign this, we'll let you sign this waiver and let you ride a bus that exists, is what our current process is.
The bus is already there, yeah.
And if that's the case, it seems like it wouldn't be an equity issue, but I don't know if anybody else has thoughts.
Hi, this is Mallory Ezekiel. As a parent of a kiddo from Brookline, go to Townsend, I can say that we do not have a bus. We do not have the opportunity to put our pre-K student on a bus to get him to Townsend. So if that option would exist, that would be an absolute benefit. But to say that I'm going to have a kids going south to get to Newbrook and then further north to get to Jamaica is a stretch.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Can we put little kids on the same, kids that are that small, are there just safety restrictions on them riding
I
the
believe that's where
bus?
the waiver
Yeah.
comes
Oh,
in.
okay, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's
Forgive me.
I don't think it's the ideal.
no,
Can our bus staff, okay,
yeah, to have a 3 or 4 year old.
especially.
Especially
Yeah. Special bus. Yeah. All right. Folks, has everybody had their questions answered from the board? And if so, I feel as though we're tracking towards
Can I make a motion?
direction?
Well, we didn't, so our last meeting, we didn't take any real public comment on the preschool discussion, so I think that
Yeah.
I would, before we
Yeah.
vote, maybe like,
Open it. Yep, absolutely.
Would it-
Sorry, I was just
Yeah.
asking if the board had anything else. Yeah.
That's fine. I just didn't know if we should make the motion and then continue the discussion with public comment, or if we should do public comment first and then make
Let's
the
do,
motion.
maybe do public
Okay.
comment first, and then we'll get the
Perfect,
read of the, yeah.
perfect.
Does anybody else on the board have anything? No? Okay. Yeah, we will with that open it out to the public, and as usual, 2-minute cap on any comment, question. Yeah, go ahead. Please state your name and.
Hi, I'm Jean Goldberg. My question is a procedural one, of the chair specifically perhaps. I don't know your rules of order. Are you under Robert's rules, town meeting time, whatever? Will there be an individual vote, or is it, as you traditionally do, you survey and you all say yes, and then you say, are there any rejections? How will you take the vote?
Yeah, so good question. Normally, right, we would just say, take the vote. All those in favor say aye, right? And then show of hands, and then ask for any opposed. But it's a great point. Tonight specifically, I will.
Well, I was just saying, if it's not unanimous, in a hybrid meeting, I think you have to do a roll call.
Have to, right.
If it's not unanimous.
Yeah.
And you do have, it looks like now, a second member, Peter has joined on Zoom as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
If it's unanimous, I don't think you have to do a roll call.
Yeah,
You can, but you don't have
I
to.
think regardless, we'll just do a roll call tonight. Yeah. Good question.
Thank you.
Oh, you have Clara and Zoomland.
Clara, go ahead. Can you state your last name?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear
Sorry.
you.
Yeah, you're.
You have to unmute. Clara, we can't hear you.
There you are.
There we go.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
You
Yes.
got it. Yeah, Claire, what's your last
Okay.
name? Apologies.
Robinson.
Thank you.
Robinson?
Thank you.
Longtime Jamaica resident. So a clarification question from the superintendent. You were talking about first early on about how many parents were interested in having their kids attend pre-K at Jamaica. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was calling the ones who had already enrolled and registered to find out what their preference was if the building was temporarily
Right.
closed for the K-5 group. Yep.
Right. And the answer was they would all be in favor.
It seemed that they would still want their kids to be in the Jamaica building. Yep.
So that being said, the transportation problem came up. So I'm just wondering, they were aware of that also, right?
I don't, to be honest, know what pre-K families are aware of with regards to transportation. Do we?
We never discussed it.
Yeah. So I don't think that anybody had asked the question to Monica, certainly not to me. I don't know. I don't know what they believe is happening or not happening, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. But it didn't sound like it would be, I mean, if they had said that's what their choice would be, that they would understand that they would have to transport their child, or it would, there would be option of getting on a bus somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the comments I heard were that people liked the idea of the younger kids being still in the community, even if an older sibling was also simultaneously somewhere else.
Right.
That the younger being closer to home felt better to them.
And, okay, and at the same time, at the last meeting, I know there was a number of people that were upset that dollar amounts were being put on their children. I'm hearing that again today. What's it gonna cost us? How much are we going to? I mean, and I'm listening to Scotty from Newfane telling us some of the costs that might be incurred. So I would hope that the board would take that in balance when they make their decision, of the people that were concerned about, putting a dollar amount on their child's future. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. All right, anybody else? Seeing none? Go ahead. Can you say your name?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm Rachel Warren. I'm a 3-year-old's mom. I personally would not be comfortable with my kid being bused simply because of the car seat issue. I have close relations with a lot of the pre-K other moms, but I won't speak for them. I believe that they may also be uncomfortable with the idea of being bused. So I know I myself will be driving her. I'm in favor of that. And then I just had a question about this incredibly convenient Zoom link that I somehow have missed. I just ran from supper, so I missed the first 15 minutes of the meeting. If someone could just really fast paraphrase for me what's happened, that'd be amazing. Or is there somewhere I can watch the meeting?
Later you will be able to, but I can give you a quick update.
Okay.
Before. You're actually one of the 2 people I couldn't get a hold of. Their numbers, I couldn't get them to work.
Oh my gosh.
I've tried, so they were.
That Wi-Fi calling right
Is that what it was? Okay, so I couldn't get through to you, but I did try, I promise.
Okay.
So I reported out that I had reached out to all the pre-K families that had registered to try to find out what their desires were as far as location.
Okay.
And I started off by talking about that we still have no applicants for either of the 2 teaching positions. But we do have an applicant for the administrative assistant position, which if the board decides to operate the pre-K there, we would still pursue to have another person in the building to answer the phone and do other administrative duties there. So that was kind of the quickie version of what you missed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Oh, sorry.
I have a random question.
Sure.
Right, hi, it's in a loud mouth. I'm curious about about the sort of technicalities of a possibility. I've been asked by a couple of people about the idea of a daycare. Now, is it possible to combine a private and public institution in one building? Or is that really not a thing that could be done? Is that
No idea.
outside the lines? Got it. Okay.
No idea.
That's an outside the lines kind of issue.
Yeah,
Potentially it's like rented space or something.
Oh, right. Thinking like renting, because the need for daycare is huge.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I do know that there are schools that rent spaces to outside groups to do things. I worked for a time up in Springfield, and the high school building that I was in has a bunch of different tenants in it, including a daycare center, which was part of their. So yes, I'm sure it's legal. We don't
So it is
know
a thing
the
that somewhere
details
in
of
the
it.
world is done. It's not
It's done.
crazy
Yep.
idea.
Yep.
Okay.
No, it's not crazy. We just have to just figure it out if that was
Right.
the
I
case.
mean, just thinking of like potential needs of the community.
And I would say that if the board goes in that direction and you know someone who would be interested in doing that, they should connect with me and we should figure that out.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's getting the body in the door is the tough part. Right?
Yeah.
I'm working on it sometimes.
So, but I'm willing to work.
Gotcha.
We'll look into
Thank you,
that.
Senate. Yeah. Right. Great.
I remember how brutal it was. Get someone. Like, could you just hold him? I'm going away.
And pretend they're not screaming when you
Right.
get in the car. Yeah.
So I guess what I've heard is that we have the appropriately credentialed staff to provide the service in Jamaica. We planned on providing the service in Jamaica. There seems to be no reason not to provide the service in Jamaica. And in fact, I've heard a handful of reasons why it makes more sense than doing anything else with it. So I guess, I don't know if we need to like make separate motions or whatever, but I guess I would be in favor of, keeping the planned preschool program.
Yeah, we actually have a specific language.
All right.
But I mean, you
Yeah,
guys fight it
so
out.
like I said, I just think that from what I've heard, unless I've missed something in this conversation, it seems like all I've heard is benefit from leaving the preschool active in Jamaica.
And the parents have spoken.
And the parents want to.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to temporarily cease the K through 5 education at the Jamaica Village School and to retain the pre-K education at Jamaica Village School for the 2024-2025 school year, effective July 1st, 2024, due to staffing issues, which is required for the sound administration of the West River Modified Union Education District and is proper under Title 16.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And discussion. And the motion agrees.
I think we ought to do this. It heads in a positive, especially if we pursue the daycare.
Interesting.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joe?
I think Drew summed it up really well. There are a lot of good reasons to do this, and it's ready. We should do it. Makes sense. It seems to be the best use of the resources for the kids.
Anybody else in the book?
Can I add a small comment,
Sure.
which is that I think it's a good solution, and I just want to encourage us and folks in Jamaica in particular to keep talking together and keep working on this, not save this for another meeting in a year. Let's I think that's an important follow-up to this.
Keep it alive.
Staffing issues may alleviate themselves, given time. We don't know.
Right.
So,
So that was going to be my next question for somebody. What is the next step? So we know that right now we don't have the ability to provide K-5 education because we don't have staff. So if we vote in favor of this motion, what's the next step? Do we stop looking? Do we change the job postings and look out for next year? Where do we go from here? It feels like this is not over, but we don't have a next step. Like, what do we do next?
Look at me, so I'll answer.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I think if this goes the way you guys are talking about, this motion passes, what you're describing is solving a short-term crisis situation, not a long-term situation. And it might not be a crisis long-term, we don't know. We have a pretty decent size of kids in the pre-K that would be going there. Maybe those families stay, maybe that grows and whatever. You also have a long-term planning committee, which will be meeting tomorrow morning to have a draft of the report from Stevens to present presumably at the next full meeting on the 10th to talk about what the next steps are. I think that's the next step, is to hear that report and then as a group decide, based on this, now what are we doing? Are we doing another study on something different? Are we making a mid-range plan? Do we have a long-term plan? Like, what are we thinking about with our 4 buildings? Because I think that's a question you guys haven't answered since the merger took place, right? So if you're asking me what's next, that's what's next. You just jump right back into that ship and see that process through. This is just a little side journey to solve a temporary crisis. You still have the bigger issue to look at for the whole district to deal with. So
really the continuation of this conversation happens tomorrow.
Have we really
In some
made,
ways, about 12 hours.
sorry, has long-term, I just want to really encourage those of you on the long-term planning commission to make the meetings public. We shouldn't have to be digging around on the calendar and begging for information or agendas or minutes.
yeah,
Like,
it should be on the SU calendar for all the district stuff. And there should be a link on it. The difference is that they're not Zoom links because we don't host it. It's hosted through Stevens.
We have to make these meetings accessible.
So it's a
I
Teams.
shouldn't have to dig for that information. I've asked for it in the meetings. Please send it to us. Like, yes, we can all go looking for it, but it should be easy for us to know what's going on and participate, not hard, and for the community as
So
well.
the people that are on the committee, when the warning went out for that meeting with the link, did you not get it, or is it only the committee people that get it? Does it go out to the whole board or just the committee members?
Diane sends it, so it's probably just the committee members.
Yeah. Okay, so what I can do is I can forward it to the whole board then,
Yeah.
and you'll have it. I can do that right now, so you'll have that for the morning for sure.
Yeah.
And let's make sure we're like making it like not just available, but like easy for folks in the community to find out, because whether or not it changes the outcome, it's really important that folks know what we're up to and don't have the perception that we're, or part of the board is kind of working in secret.
Joe brought up a good point.
If we distribute the link to the entire board and the entire board comes,
That's a full board.
warn it
Or
as a
it's
full board meeting.
meeting.
Just warn it both ways, so for the fact that everybody could show up.
I just think that we can't, like, it's too important to kind of be dancing around with. I hear you on that, Joe, and I'm glad you
that's
mentioned
fine.
it,
You
but
can do
like we have to make it possible and encourage folks to follow what's going on and to know it. And then if they don't know or they don't show up, like that's a different question than like I didn't know or I was waiting or.
Are you available tomorrow? Because I'm not.
Yeah, but at least,
Good point.
I just
you can jump in.
you get up to us.
And I hear that we did start making the minutes way more visible than we did earlier on. That was my bad earlier in the year. This, I think, will be the last meeting with Stevens, because the hope is that we're going to then present this report to the full board. Then it'll become a full board conversation in public, obviously. But I think we're going to be ready to present the final report. And again, they're very narrow. I don't want people to get their hopes up. It's a report that's narrowly looking at one thing, just like the previous one narrowly looked at one thing. And so it'll be what it will be. We'll explain what that means. And so I appreciate the minutes. I hope are better than they were because they exist. So they're hopefully better than they were midwinter. But I do appreciate that. I did send it. Just everyone now has it. But yeah, we got to be careful how many people are showing up. But it sounds like Dana won't be there. So
I can't work. Somebody wanted to take my place.
What is our quorum number? Just so that we don't.
6. We can't.
We can't have more than 6 of us show up tomorrow. It's just not warned that way.
Yep.
Even just circulate the minutes, but let's make sure that if our community let's not have people feel that it was because of us that they didn't get information, and that is, I think, how folks feel, and I don't think it's intentional, but we need to go the extra mile to help them feel that they could if they wanted to.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kate.
And can folks from Zoom be heard and just?
We can hear you.
Yeah, sure, go
Oh,
ahead.
terrific. Is it still open discussion?
Still open discussion.
Great. This is Jessica Pollock from Jamaica. So I just wanted to add as a part and parcel with this last discussion about long-term planning and whether this is a temporary or a more evolving situation. Just wanted to let you know that I'll be bringing it up at select board meetings now regularly. I have been able to just apropos of the comment about the what felt like secrecy in the long-term planning process. It did open up. I want to say that very much. And so I personally feel a little closer to the direction it's taken, the principles that were being followed, et cetera. And that definitely makes me feel, my knowledge of that makes me feel that this is going to evolve pretty quickly. And so I just want to let you know that I'm going to be inviting folks from the town to be weighing in. And if it does look like the recommendation of the long-term planning committee is going to be directionally where it is now, we'll want to, as a town, be looking at hearing from folks about whether they want a town vote on closing the school, when we might do that, what it might mean, because the economics of keeping it open, but not having our local residents, except for pre-K, benefit from it, versus the town taking it back and potentially earning revenue from it. That's a point that I just feel that I need to raise to the town. So I just wanted to put that on the whiteboard, so to speak.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right. Any other comments or questions before we take a roll call?
I just had a quick question with regards to the vote. Since we've merged, we've had a Wyndham representative on with the understanding that they vote only on matters that pertain to the high school education, because Wyndham doesn't participate in the elementary. So if we're going to roll call this thing, does our Wyndham rep get a vote?
I would say
I don't think so, but I was like, I wanted to ask.
Is that something in the articles, or is it more of just like an agreement?
In the articles.
Is it in the articles?
Yeah.
I know the budgets would separate, but then you guys voted to change that at one point, so it was all together. But that was just specific to budgets, right?
Right.
Specific to budgets.
So they didn't have to do two different votes. So I honestly don't know the answer. I mean, it makes sense to me based on what the intent was. I
Yeah.
And I don't know, Paul, if you have any wisdom on that as the Wyndham rep.
Well, that's a good question, because there's a separate elementary school board that's still in existence.
They're a choice town.
But I could look into that. I consider them pretty new to the board, and a lot of this stuff is requiring some investigation on my. So.
So unless somebody disagrees, maybe out of an abundance of caution, Paul, maybe if you abstain from the vote, that might make sense, not knowing for certain whether or not you can or cannot. Any objection to that? Okay.
I think that's a good idea. And obviously, a vote isn't going to make or break it. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Okay. If we're ready, we will go
Can
to.
we reread the
Yes.
motion
Yes.
one more time? Can I take
please.
one more minute of your? I know I'm taking a lot of your time. But I think this is really important, and hopefully it won't keep us from the concert. I just want to make sure, whether it's before or after we vote, that we hear from Bob and from staff about outreach to the families, and that if we're making this vote, we have a commitment on the record that we're going to work closely with families that might be dealing with this, and make sure that we'll really do our best for every kid and every family.
Yeah, so obviously anticipating this could be a potential outcome. I actually have a letter drafted already that I would send out either tonight or tomorrow morning to the families. And then would give them their opportunities to connect with Renee and Robin at Townsend, Scotty and Priscilla at Newbrook, or to petition you folks on June 10th for possible tuition to a private, or to a non-private, I'm sorry, to an adjacent public school district, if they chose to do so. And I am supporting their effort in that by providing language for them on how to do that. So I do feel like we're giving as much wraparound support to the families and visiting the other schools, setting that up, allowing those people to do that, and as well as having the opportunity for them to do the tuition thing with me providing some language for them. So I hope that's what you're asking, and that's what I'm doing already. I already have it written, ready to go.
Thank you.
Just wasn't sure which scenario we were using, so. Yeah.
Thanks.
And to be clear, it's for geographic
considerations, yeah. So I have it all spelled out in there in the statute.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, we will move to a roll call after we read the motion again.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion to temporarily cease K through 5 education at the Jamaica Village School and to retain pre-K education at Jamaica Village School for the 2024-2025 school year, effective July 1st, 2024, due to staffing issues, which is required for the sound administration of the West River Modified Union Education District and is proper under Title 16.
Okay, great. Everybody understand the motion? Perfect. All right. So let's start out.
So Peter and Paul, the two that you have in the Zoom line.
Okay. Peter, how do you vote?
Aye, yes.
And Paul? Okay, just on record, abstains.
I thought I was going to abstain.
Yes, thank you.
Just for the record.
Sarah?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
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 Yes. And I am yes. All right. So the motion does carry unanimously.
With one abstention.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yes. 9 in favor, 1 abstain. And the motion carries.
Chairman, I'd like to make a second motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the school district's attorney to make an application to the Secretary of Education for a decision under 16 VSA Section 563 2 concerning the board's decision.
Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Thanks, Joe. Any discussion?
Do you want me to explain that?
Please.
So part of the statute that the board is utilizing to make the temporary closure, 563, is that what it is?
Yeah, 563.
It has to do with the sound administration of a district, decisions that are within the authority of a board to make. However, it does have an element that gets sort of a rubber stamp, if you will, from the Secretary of Education, or in our case, the interim Secretary of Education. And so in essence, the attorney would write a letter describing the situation, describing the vote that you took, and asking the secretary to confirm that it is just under that title. And then the secretary would issue a response in a couple weeks' time, probably. So that's what that is. Basically the second part of the statute. You have to then submit the decision to the AO. So.
Thanks, Bob. Any questions, comments?
No discussion from me.
Okay, nothing from the board? No. And anything from the public? Go ahead.
Will that letter, is that what we're calling that second motion, be viewable to the public?
Yeah, I think we would. I'm trying to think how we did that. I think.
Or is that not a?
I think the letter is falls under the legal exemption for public records because it's a legal communication from the attorney. The response from the secretary, however, is a public document. That gets shared out under correspondence at a meeting in the future once it's returned. So that's my understanding. If I'm wrong on that, I'll correct myself later, but I think that's how it played out.
So we see that in August.
No, I think you'll see it. It might not be by the 10th, but well, yeah, it depends whether or not you guys meet in July, I suppose. But it potentially could be here by the 10th, but might not be. So
with the,
gotcha.
Obviously, there's a lot of people that are interested in making sure that we don't get a denial or something. So even if the letter's not back, can we make sure that that information is put out timely, not only to the board but to the public? So if, for example, it comes out on the 11th, can we share that out? Can we share that out, whether it's through to the board, through the newspaper, whatever it is, just so that people don't have to wait another month? I think that would be
that makes
a
sense.
mistake.
I'm sure Chris Mays would agree with that.
Yeah.
And certainly, maybe even directly to the affected parents. That,
Sure. Yeah.
Since we know how to contact them.
Makes sense.
Hopefully we'll reach those pre-K families right away and make sure they know where things are at, so that we don't lose them, anybody based on uncertainty.
Yep. And we'll move forward with the operation to move one of the classrooms there, and just like was planned initially, and get that staffed and ready to go. So that's the next step.
Yep.
Monica and Renee will work that out, because it's basically a transfer of one building to another. So, yep. And then we'll communicate with these families. Well, most of these families.
I'll get you my email.
Maybe I got an email address I can use.
Might be better.
That would let them know that they're still will be operational at GBS for that.
Let's make it count.
So.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Go ahead, Karen.
Karen Amadin. I would just like to say thank you, and thank you for letting us speak the other night in Jamaica and answer our questions. It's been tough for parents, for sure, but now you have a decision, and thank you for putting so much thought into this, and we do appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. All right. Any other comments? All right. Seeing none, we will again do roll call. Starting with Peter.
Yes.
And Paul. Same thing.
Yes, if I'm allowed to vote.
I suppose there's no harm in sending a letter right now.
You didn't vote on the actual piece that mattered.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think we're good at that. Thanks, Paul. Sarah?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. And yes. All right, and that motion does carry unanimously. All right. Thank you very much, folks. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I think that was probably all of our business. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. I will not take a roll call on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Have a great night. Thank you.
Got launching.